You know, as we continue reading through the book of Leviticus, I can't help but think of the heaviness of the book and the weight of the responsibilities. Imagine for a moment, imagine trying to remember all of these rules that we have read in Exodus and especially here in Leviticus. I can't imagine the weight and the responsibility that it would entail on the priest and on the worshiper. There are rules given that govern every aspect of their life. And it's a lot to remember. And why did God give his people all of these different rules, all these weight and heftiness for them to remember? And one reason is they were to live a life that is set apart. Let me read to you Leviticus 20, verse 22 through 26. You are to keep my statutes and all my ordinances and do them so that the land where I am bringing you to live will not vomit you out. You must not follow the statutes of the nations I am driving out before you, for they did all these things and I abhorred them. And I promise you, you will inherit their land, since I will give it to you to possess, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God who set you apart from the peoples. Therefore, you are to distinguish the clean animal from the unclean one, and the unclean bird from the clean one. Do not become contaminated by any land animal, bird, or whatever crawls on the ground. I have set these apart as clean for you. You are to be holy to me, because I, the Lord, am holy, and have set you apart from the nations to be mine. So here we see that mention again of the promised land. And the only way for the people to keep the promised land would be for them to obey the Lord, as he says there in verse 22. In verse 23, he talks about how the other nations are being punished. They're the nations that live in the promised land right now, and they're not to imitate them. They're to live differently. They're to be set apart. And he tells us in verse 24 and 26 that they are to be set apart, that they are to be holy. And he gives some examples there in verse 25. You know, as Christians, we too are called to be set apart. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 through 16, that we are to be salt and light, that in this world we are to live differently. And so just like the ancient Israelites, we are to live a life that is set apart for him. Hope you join me again tomorrow as we continue in Leviticus.